Hello Redmine friends, welcome in today's Helpdesk webinar. Today we'll show you how to run great customer support using Redmine, open source platform with our RedmineUP Helpdesk plugin. First, let me just say a few words about our company. If you haven't heard about RedmineUP before, we specialize in delivering Redmine-based solution. This is Redmine plugins and Redmine custom development. Currently, we have 16 Redmine plugins on the market, and they're used by small, medium businesses as well as large corporations from around the world. They help to manage all of your business process, projects, sales, support, invoicing, finances, or any other. Are you ready to start? Let's dive in. I want to show you the help desk from the point of view of the client, of the user, and of the manager. So we'll cover how the system behaves when the client sends a message, how he can see the status of the current ticket, how the team can work on the issue to get it resolved, discuss some cases, some things that will be visible for the client, some things will be visible only for the team members, and also for the manager to be able to see what are the effectiveness of working on the tickets, what's the workload on our team, and so on. And also at the end I will show some additional features such as reports. So if you want to send at the end of the month or after end of the billing period some kind of billable report, I will also show you how to do this and how it will look like for the end customer, how it can actually look like, because it's fully customizable. What I done when I was just waiting for you is I sent a message from my private mailbox to the email address that's assigned for a help desk, and I received what I've done. I've received an auto reply from the help desk because it sends an auto reply. It uses some default styling. So I make the initial welcome message and the assigned ticket number higher. Those highlighting this is done by my email client. So this is not the plugin, but what you can see here. So in the default auto reply, we see we take a name of the client. We show what kind of ID did we assign. We give some general welcome information, when it will be available, to give some understanding how long the client will have to wait for the initial message to actually receive it. Here we list some exemplary FAQ section, which client can actually open and read more about the possible question that he had. We can also link for additional pages, like for some support section. We can give our contact information. We include the message that was sent by the client. It's a good case practice to include public link. Public link it's a hashed secure link that makes access to the ticket possible without having account in Redmine. So this is the way how clients see the public link. He sees the tracker, so the type of request, number of ticket, the subject of his mail. He sees those are the customer information. So this is the things that he actually sent to the team. His initial message, his additional comment that he sent later. He can also add the comment from this section, like if, for example, he didn't receive reply on time. He's trying to urge things up a little bit, so he can let note the team here that he's waiting for some reply. And in this section, he sees the basic properties of the ticket. So the status, the assignee, if there any time being reported as spent on working on this issue, it will be also visible here, as well as any attachments to the issue. And you can also use some additional styling to this message. So let me just show you, because I opened it in the background. As you see, my email client doesn't shows all the stylings that's used in this auto reply. You can also use basically Redmine default text formatting here, which is to make this information more beautiful, more user friendly. And now let's take a look at the helpdesk itself. By default, the helpdesk plugin extends the functionality of regular Redmine issues with additional information. This is a separate database, so if you already had any issue history, you can without any doubts, install the Helpdesk plugin. It won't modify the existing database of the issues. It won't change them. So even if you, I don't know, maybe one day you will delete the plugin or something bad happens, your issue database is untouched. It doesn't modify it. This is a separate database table saved. This creates a separate table for Helpdesk ticket, for Helpdesk contacts, and for statistics, such as time to first response. You can totally customize this the way you see this issue file, this issue list. You can see it as a ticket list. You can take a look at this with a standard Redmine look and standard statistics. If you want to have some more parameters, you can also apply some other stats. For example, I use for this custom queries the same way as we do in our Helpdesk to track issues. For example, track issues that were responded on time. Those are just standard filters applied here. You can also use this list to filter out tickets that are out in SLA or out of SLA. For example, this way, let's imagine that we have SLA to reply within 1 hour. So here I'm, as a manager of as a Helpdesk agent, I'm tracking all the tickets that haven't been touched by anyone. So I can see the tracker status, maybe the priority, because that would be important for me. I can see that assignee is default the support team, so there's no person who's assigned, but someone will report time, source, and possibly some tags to let me understand what this issue is referring to. Okay, and now let's go back to the example of this message, and let's take a look at this, what's already happening here. So Helpdesk adds a little bit more information to the default way how we see the issues or the tasks in Redmine. It adds a source with the icon and information from what kind of email did we receive the message. It lists the message subject as a subject of the issue. The body of the message is inserted in the description, and we can also always download the original file in case we feel that there's something missing. Maybe there's some formatting, maybe there's some, let's say we see that from the description that some part of email has been unprocessed or processed in the wrong way. We can always download the original. It's not modifying it. We also see some statistics in here. It's a time to reaction, which measure how much time it took from the moment that the ticket was created to the moment that someone actually modified the issue, so change assignee status, maybe assign it or done something with it. Waiting time, this is already another metrics. By default, it's metric called time to response, so how long the person is actually waiting to get the first reply from our team. Here, because the person we have already replied to the person, and this guy in our example is waiting for another reply. Because he has already replied, he's just giving this data here. Here we can see a history. As you can see, there are some internal discussions here. So the team is trying to figure out what to do, what to do with this problem, with this technical problem. And meanwhile, the customer have said something like this. So maybe he's actually said that it's not sent by the client, but by another person. Perhaps maybe someone from his team is trying to urge the things a little bit to the team. What else do we have here? We have a Helpdesk contact field. This is a CRM functionality because the CRM in default is required. We required at least a free, which is light version of this CRM, so we don't have to buy the full professional version of the plugin to use it. It just gives the possibility to have class clients or company profiles. Let's take a look at the profile now to give you understanding what it is. So this is a client profile. We have some basic information that has been taken automatically when the user was created. We can also create a user profile for this person, contact profile. here are some tickets. If we will add any more plugins or any additional fields, we'll be able to see them here in separate tabs such as orders, maybe notes, performance, rates, and so on. Coming back to this ticket, we can update this contact information if it's necessary, because there are sometimes situations when your client doesn't send the message to the support mail, but for example, he sends this to you or to your colleague or to CEO or maybe to general company mail and so on. So we can always update it. You can also change the ticket source and add some additional CC addresses if it's necessary. Here it's also the public link that I mentioned earlier. You can always copy this or use it, for example, to send to your client. So this is particularly useful if you're exchanging any part of files, any attachments. For example, in our case, with a recent release of Redmine 4.0, some old plugins stopped working or users reported some bugs. In this way, we're able to, because the fixes were already ready, but some clients didn't have time to maybe update this, or they were not notified by our mail newsletters. And so we could send them, in the first message that we sent them, we could send them the file, and then in the second message we could copy the public link and send them the link to this ticket. In this way, even if the firewall have blocked the message with the attachment, because this sometimes happens, they were still able to access the files via the public link. How to update the issue? Because we already have some discussions here, so we decided that we have to escalate this to maybe to another team, or we have to figure out how to do this and so on. Now we're going to the reply section. As you see, here's one button saying send note to the contact that received the message the last time. In this way, we would have to a little bit update this. Yeah, so change the context actually, because we don't want to send to the recent person. We want to notify the person who actually created the issue, and maybe the other guy as well. Let's give him a chance to be notified. By default, Helpdesk takes a header and footer that is fully customizable, and it applies here. You can use some general macros such as, for example, name. In this case, I'm adding my name. You can also use voting, which will let your client to rate your answer. We allow 3 votes, which is basically good, average, and unsatisfied. You can change the name, how it looks, how is it labeled. The logic behind it is the same. Okay, so we have this ready. Now we want to add. You can of course start just typing something here, but to save time, especially we have a lot of information, a lot of repetitive questions. Sorry, we can automate this by using canned responses. This is a pre-saved, prepared reply. We can use a few of them. As you see, I'm using some macros here. So it auto-populates the message, the data such as who the ticket was assigned for. Let's say assigned for Pong Steven. Let me just try this one more time to show you how it works. So I would have to update the issue first to make this change appear here. Anyway, we can use multiple canned responses one after another. So in this case, for example, because let's say I'm a support consultant, I'm not sure how to solve this issue. I need to escalate this, but I also need some more details. So I can ask a client to send us more details about his, for example, his system that he's using, maybe browser, maybe Redmine environment, maybe the mobile phone, iOS version that he's using, or any other information that would make our team easier to investigate what the issue refers to. And now we can just send the message. We can send the message like with the blank reply, as we done here. Whoa. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little bit overloaded. I have some connectivity problems, so I'm running now on hotspot. That's why maybe it's working a little bit slower than usual. So I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. So we can start by blank page, blank reply. We can also quote quote the original text or quote any other, like it's done in Redmine. In this way, we can, for example, refer to the questions that client mentioned earlier. In meanwhile, I already received the reply from the team. Let me just open it. So here it is. I can vote it here. So the client can now leave a vote and also leave a comment. You can disable the ability to add comments, but the comments are useful. Ability to vote is added, and the client can vote each reply that's being sent to him, because this has a tendency to change. So some clients also vote just by giving us positive or negative vote without giving us a reply, so without saying, oh, thank you, it was resolved. So as a client, if I want to add some information, any attachment, whether it will be in the subject of the message that I'm sending, whether it will be in I'm adding some requirements list or something like this, it will be added automatically to the list. If I have any other conversation, I can also forward this using a Dropbox functionality. If I just mention the default admin plus another issue ID, so demo plus, in this way, 609, with any other message, even without pointing to this issue, it will be added to the existing issue. This helps to manage multiple conversations and update from client side without reassigning the users and passing the links and so on. Okay, let's update the issue. Okay, so our server is still processing the requests of the email. For now, we can see that the client voted and his comments. I saw a question, how can we embed screenshots? So it depends on the version of Redmine that you're using. You can basically drag and drop images. Let me show you. So if you just drag and drop it, it will include in the conversation, and you can add this to the ticket. I'll show you how it looks on the client side. So it was included here. Let's just wait a second till I get the message. As you see, I get the screenshot added in the attachment. It depends on the email agent. There are also plugins that let you copy-paste screenshots, such as, for example, CK Editor. In our plugin, ZenEdit, which lets you edit the text in a full screen view, we will introduce this feature in next development. Now let's take a look at more interesting things, reports and then settings. But before we go to the reports in details, what is pretty useful in Redmine, and basically also for Helpdesk, is the ability to auto-assign issues and to process them automatically. Let me just show you also how it looks if you add this issue manually. So as you see here, I have possibility to add the ticket to the contact. So I can select an existing contact from the database that was created. I can assign company. I can also create a new contact here. The source from where I have received the ticket. Here what you see, send as, this is in notification. So should the users receive any notification? Notification is just an update like you have seen for the recent message. The initial message is the auto reply that you saw in the beginning with the FAQ. So we can select here tracker. If you select category, that's default Redmine settings, you can have an auto-assigned group of the users. So in our case, for example, we have different group of users for different categories of problems. It's also pretty cool to use tags. Tags is a free plugin developed by our company that helps you to faster categorize the issues. You can also use checklists to process data faster. You might wonder how to work faster on getting the issues assigned to a particular person or right category, perhaps right project. Because Helpdesk is just a module. It doesn't extend, it doesn't modify the Redmine core functionality. So still Redmine is based on projects, and each project can have a different email address assigned. So in this case, Helpdesk is still using the default, is kind of limited by default Redmine settings. So if you want to have separate email addresses for separate projects, you should use different projects, or you should have one main project, let's call it a support, like a parent support project, and then sub projects for each type. So let's say you have one hardware team that's solving problems with computers, printers, keyboards, and so on. You have one team that's responsible for giving permissions and assigning roles to the different software that you might be using. So that could be another sub-project with separate issue style, issue statuses, separate tracker, and so on. So now we come to the general settings. I will show you two interesting things, and email smart workflows that helps you to automate the incoming and outgoing messages. This is the default plugin settings. Here you can add if you want to, whether you want to assign creating users, whether you want to add message as a note to the client, to the contacts, and so on. You can also select, this is pretty cool feature, auto closing tickets. So it happens that clients don't send us any confirmation they're satisfied or unsatisfied with the answer. So if the issue is hanging for a particular time, it will be closed automatically. That's useful, for example, here to use from the status resolved to status closed. So we can close it manually, but if no one will touch it, it will be closed automatically. This helps to clean the list of the open and like unresolved, unclosed tickets, but that have already replied. You have settings for default public tickets. You can enable them. We can give a possibility to see how much time was spent and comment this. We can customize what he sees in the top menu. Here we can customize the general template. So what would be the subject, header, footer, and also for automatical reply, this is the initial welcome, like a welcome, we got your mail message. We can also add some default, some custom CSS styling here if you want to use it. Here's the list of the macros that you can actually use. This helps you to add personalization to these messages, because if you just send them default message like, hi, we got your mail, thank you, they will treat it like a robot. We're in the 21st century, we can send people to the moon, so we can also personalize our helpdesk messages. We can also, here in next steps, we can allow voting. We can add canned responses to be visible for all projects. We can personalize the helpdesk widget and the automation. Automation lets you assign the actions to the conditions that you want to be taken. So for example, for all, this is a sample, just sample automation. So for all new messages, you can filter by new messages, for example, responses that contains some keyword. This way, this is SAP. In the subject line, we will assign to a project with the highest priority that we have available. Let me just show you the list of conditions. So we can sort by a message type, as you saw, subject, by tags that are assigned to the contact, by tags in general, that would be the message tag. If the message was sent, for example, from emails from a particular domain, maybe by a particular contact, you can auto assign designated contacts. So for example, let's say your partner CEO, he's sending you mail, you want to treat it maybe with highest priority, or maybe you have some keywords in the message body, such as, I don't, help, test, maybe the name of the product. That would help you to assign incoming requests to a particular person, maybe to the product owner, project, and so on. Actions you can do, you can change assignee, status, add tags, change priority, change projects. This can be done for incoming message. This can be also done for outgoing message. So let me just show you an example how it can be used. One of our clients, he's sending for all the tickets that he's closing, each one of them, the received tag called follow-up. This helps him to reach out to the people who already received the reply to their ticket and see if they need any additional help, if the solution that they provided, if it was actually implemented, if it's working, but also just to make sure that the client actually received the message. Okay, do you have any questions for the settings? Warren, regarding your questions, if you can create support desk for a project or for each client. Yes, you can create support for project for each client. You can also use this automation settings to have the messages coming from different clients assigned for different persons. If you want to handle different SLAs for different clients, you can just use filters, different set of filters to be able to track them. like I show you here in this example. You can give them a special name, let's say like customer X SLA out of customer X in SLA out of customer X out of SLA. You can also use one more trick. Let me just show you first how it looks for them here. You can also use an agile board. We're actually using this for our products as well. This way, you can have the board with all the issue cards displayed. They can have different set of data that will be displayed here. This columns, this is issue status. You can add as many of you want, as many of you need. You can also divide this, as you see here, board is divided by default by the categories of the reported problems. So you can see, for example, technical question problems and so on. This can be divided, for example, by the person who is assigned to take a look what our team is currently working on and what kind of issues and where, if maybe no one is stuck and so on. We can add comments here using GL. You'll be also able to easier follow up on the issues. Helpdesk comes with three types of report. The first one I want to mention is the first response time, which gives you the average statistics on how does your customer support team works in given time intervals. So for the selected interval windows, how many tickets were closed, and as well as average statistics. So the first response time, closing time, and number of tickets closed. Here we have comparison with the previous period of the same length. So if I'm comparing this month, it will show me comparison with last month. If I'm comparing this week, it will show comparison with the last week, and so on. This helps to have understanding how effective does your team work. If you want to understand what's the workload on your team, especially if you're supporting people from different time zones or maybe different kind of clients, is to use the second report, which is called the busiest time of the day, which shows you in which hours you are receiving the most requests. You can also here have comparison with the previous period. And the last report is customer satisfaction, which is the sum up of all votes that have been sent by your clients. So we have the overall count of votes. What you see here, the satisfaction score, this is an APS, Net Promoter Score, which helps you understand how satisfied are your clients with the support that they're receiving. That's all, folks. Thank you for listening.